Today we are going to graph horizontal and vertical lines and understand what their equations are. Just as a review, slope is a number that represents how steep a line is and which direction it slants. We're going to use slope and y equals mx plus b to help us figure out which equations we should give these lines. So we're going to learn a new type of linear equation, but y equals 3 is one that should be familiar. Now normally we put this in y equals mx plus b or slope intercept form, and this, because there's no x, the slope is 0. So we're going to graph our y-intercept at 3 and then graph a flat slope, which is a 0 slope. It also helps for me when you have a variable equaling a number to try doing a table. Notice that the y equals tells you what the coordinate is, the y coordinate is, but because there's no x in the equation, the x coordinate can be any number you want. So let's make a table for this line, because that might help you in the future if you can't remember which way the line goes. So y equals 3, so I'm going to just put 3's in my y column because y is always going to be 3. Then put whatever numbers you want in your x column. Now when I graph these points, -1, 3 is there, 0, 3 is there, and 1, 3 is there. So all of those points are going to be along that line. Let's look at our other type of equation. Instead of doing a y equals, we have an x equals. And what's hard about these types of equations is that you can't put them in y equals mx plus b form. It just doesn't make sense. So just like on the other side, the x equals tells you what the x coordinate is, but there are no conditions on what y can be, so y can be any number that you want. And let's demo this by making a table. We're going to make all our x's be 4's and then just choose some numbers for y. When I graph 4, 1, I go 4 along the x-axis and then 1 up, then 4 and 2 up, and then 4 and 3 up. Oh, okay. So this is going to be a straight line up and down. So if you were to try and write this in y equals mx plus b, our slope is undefined. So we'd have y equals undefined times x, which doesn't really make sense because undefined isn't a number, so we can't multiply it. And the y-intercept, which is the b, there isn't one. So we'd have to say it doesn't exist. There isn't one. So that's why this type of equation, a vertical line up and down, we write it as x equals rather than writing it in slope-intercept form. So basically all of today you're going to be doing things that are y equals a number and x equals a number. Y equals a number is a horizontal line, just as we showed in our first example. And x equals a number is a vertical line. It's really important that you don't mix these up. So I'm going to talk about like a lot of different ways that you can graph them to try and keep them straight. One way is the table way that I illustrated with these examples. The way that I tend to graph them is actually a little quicker than that, so we're going to do that on these. So I'm going to show the red ones in red ink. Here's our y equals -2. The way I normally do it is I go on the y-axis, that's the one that's straight up and down, and I find the number that I want. Then I know it's always going to be that number, so I'm going to draw a line that intersects at that point, and it will either be vertical or horizontal. So this is y equals -2. If I were to make a table for this, then I'd have -2, -2, -2. I'd have 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I go to x is 1, y is -2, and that's right there. X is 2, y is -2. There we go. Okay, so all those points are on that line, so I know I did it right. So we can just kind of use this method for the other one. Just go on the y-axis to 4, and then you know it's not going to go up and down because the y-axis goes up and down. Draw a line that intersects with the y-axis, so it will be horizontal. Okay, let's go ahead and do some x equals now. So x equals 1. I'm going to find on the x-axis where x equals 1, then draw a line that intersects. X equals -3, find it on the x-axis, draw a line that intersects. And remember, you can always check this by drawing a table. Or you could think, well, I can't write this as a y equals, it's in an x equals, so that means my slope must be undefined. And then you can draw an undefined slope. Let me show you how to check this with a table as well. So this is the blue table, so this means our x's are -3s. And then I'm just going to put in some random numbers for a y. So -3, 1 is right there, and then right there, and then right there. So all those points will be on that line. Okay, this one's a tough one because they're both 0. We're going to go on the y-axis, and y equals 0. Now, I'm drawing it like this because I'm trying to remember that the y-axis goes up and down. So to intersect with the y-axis, it has to be the other line. So y equals 0 is actually the x-axis. And remember, you can check that by making a table. Let's put -1, 0, and 1, and then make 0, 0, 0. So that tells me for each of these points, we go up nothing. So it's going to be -1, 0, 0, 0, and 1, 0 right there. So then our x equals 0 line will be the y-axis. Okay, so stating the slope of the line will help you write the equation because remember, if it's undefined, then we know we can't write it in y equals mx plus b. So this one has an undefined slope because it goes straight up and down. So that tells me that this is an x equals, and that'll be -4. Okay, this has a 0 slope, so it's going to be y equals, where is it crossing? -5. And this one has an undefined slope. Oh, I didn't write the m equals 0 on this other one, sorry. Undefined slope, so it'll be x equals, and it crosses at 2. All right, you will have some where you might have to solve for y or x. They're actually pretty easy. Just make sure that you do the same thing on both sides and you isolate the variable. So on this one, we're going to add 7 to both sides, and we get y equals 7. What do the directions tell me to do on this one? It says, then state the slope and describe the line. So our slope, remember, because this can be written as y equals 0x plus 7, our slope is 0, and this line will be a horizontal line. Okay. And then let's do C as well. So I'm just going to combine both of these numbers together because it's easier for me to do. I'm going to write y plus 5 equals 10. And then let's subtract 5 from both sides to isolate the variable. On the left, I get y. On the right, I get 10 minus 5, which equals 5. So once again, our slope is 0, and it's a horizontal line. All right, hopefully that helps you out. Remember that y equals is going to be a flat line, and x equals is going to be a vertical line. Good luck.